Hey, what's up everybody? It's the Rep 49er here. I am at a local big orange box store for home improvements. I have a couple of buddies who I do woodworking with and some other stuff, and if you're a fellow woodworker and you decided to buy the Dustopper dust collection system and 5 gallons just simply wasn't enough capacity for you like it was not for me, I'm going to show you how to make it double capacity. 10 gallons, relatively cheap, relatively easy, and you can knock this whole project out in less than about an hour. All right, stay tuned. All right, so one of the first things that you're going to need is caulk. I personally am going to use clear caulk because I have another bathroom project that I am going to need clear caulk for. So I am buying the clear kitchen and bath caulk. You can use any caulk that you want really, and you can get white, you can get brown. There's all kinds of different colors. You have a brown silicone caulk, you have light gray silicone caulk, you have black silicone caulk. Just make sure that you get silicone caulk. Again, like I said, I am using a clear kitchen and bath at $5.98 per tube, but I'll use it more than just this project. Next, find yourself 2 buckets that are very, very round with no flat spots on them. It's not too important. Some of them have a little bit of a deformation in them. I already checked both of those buckets, but some of them sometimes can have some flat spots or some curves in them. You don't want that. And buckets are a solid $3.25 each. If you already bought a Dustopper, you already have 1 bucket, so you're really only spending an additional $3.25 on the bucket for this upgrade. So this is the Dustopper. You should have already purchased this, or if you're going to purchase this, this is the Dustopper that you want for the system. You can also use this system with a Dust Deputy, which is a little bit more expensive. This one is obviously $40. You can get some different accessories that are going to help you and different fittings for different things. Just depends on your setup and how you're running and what you're doing. You're going to want different hoses, different connections, different setups. But that's all additional extra stuff that you don't need for this specifically. So roughly $12.50 at the orange store. And I'm going to have to go to the blue store because the orange store doesn't have the seal that we need. And I bought the seal that we need at the blue store last time, so hopefully they have it again. Alright, blue homeware store, home improvement store, hardware store, whatever you call your local big blue store. Hopefully you have the product that you had before so I can get on with this project. Alright, so here we are at Lowe's, and they do have what I need. Unfortunately, this is the bad part. They only sell it here in a combination track and vinyl rubber piece, and you can only buy it in an 8-foot length. That costs roughly $17.50 to $18. Now, it is important that you get this style with that little T in there, because this little spot right here just so happens to catch onto that bucket really good, and you want the T-shape, and this is roughly 1.5 inches wide. That's what you want to do. I'm not going to take the open one. I am going to put that back and grab a regular one. There's a couple open ones here, but before I put this back, because it's just flopping around everywhere, this is the name of it. Let me pull this down, turn that right instead of turning the camera. So this is what you are looking for, the MD 96-inch 244 meter metal track vinyl divoter snap track. I got it in black, 1.5 inches across. You can kind of see how it's supposed to go on the carpet. You're just going to do that with your bucket. And yeah, that's basically it. So that's what you're looking for. Here's a SKU number that'll help you look it up later if you need to. I will post a link though in the description, so it'll hopefully be easier to find. Now, we're also going to reduce the cost of that because I found a website that sells it extraordinarily cheaper, and I think you can buy just the rubber, which is all that you need. And the only downside is you got to wait a little bit for delivery. So I'm going to take this, pay for it, and get to going and get back to get this project started. All right, so $17.98 with tax, $19.06. That was the total cost of the track. Like I said, I have a website that I'm going to relook up, and we will put that in the description below. I want to say that this track on that website was around $6 or $7, and you only had to get the actual rubber track. And there's the back of my truck. Remember to like and subscribe to that if you are enjoying the video. We appreciate comments and we appreciate support and all the good things that you guys say and do for us. It's all very well appreciated. So it's time to get back and get this project started. Alright, so we're getting ready to start to get ready to build the Dustopper increased capacity to take you from 5 gallons to 10 gallons. Just so you can see, this does have some sawdust in it, and I mean, it's pretty freaking strong. It's not a ton of sawdust. You can kind of see the dark line on it there. I don't recommend picking it up like that when it's completely full, but it is relatively strong. So we're going to go over real quick some things that you can or should use to complete the project, and we'll get going. And also the materials list. As I pointed out earlier, you're going to need this seal. You do not need the metal piece. That can be chucked and trashed away. That's not going to happen until a little bit later. And you're going to need not one but 2 buckets, and you are going to need a Home Depot or whatever bucket brand you buy. You'll need the lid as well, and I'm not going to cut this piece off and tear that away. I'm going to leave that all intact. As said before, you're going to need silicone caulk. I have already used this, and I still have some that I can use. I might even be able to finish the bucket with this. I might not even need to crack into the new tube. If you've never seen these before, these Tool Time caulking caps, these things are freaking great. They keep your caulk ready to go for a while. I haven't opened this in over a week, and I am confident that I'm not going to have to dig any caulk out of there to get the project going. What I am going to use to cut the buckets is going to be my Dremel and flex shaft with the tapered aluminum bit on there. You can see it's kind of blackened out already. I did do some cutting with it before. It is still plenty sharp. All that blackened stuff, you really can kind of clean some of it off with your finger or a wired brush. Focus. Yeah, you can get some of it off. It doesn't really hurt the bit. Plastic is much softer than any wood. Optional tools. A deburring tool. If you have it, great. If not, you can use the side of your razor blade to do this. All you're going to use it for is along the edge of the bucket, just to kind of shave it down. I like the deburring tool. Either one of these razors work. You can use these to cut stuff, which I will show you what I'm going to use these for. You can also use your Dremel for that. You can use this to cut the seal, or you can use these to cut the seal. Lots of different stuff you can use to cut the seal with. So without further ado, I'm going to remove a bunch of these tools and get myself set up to get this video started. Alright guys, so here's what I'm going to start out with. I'm going to start out with my shears and my Dremel, and I'll go through a couple of other tools, explain a couple of other things. You might hear a fan in the background. That is because I built a air filtration system with a box fan and just a regular furnace filter, so that I can help pick up all those nasty little sawdust particles that go in the air. So far so good. I've only used it a few times, but works pretty good so far. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is we're going to remove this handle, and then because of my setup down here, I'm actually going to use this handle to hang my Dremel so that I can do the rest of the work. And right now I have my lovely daughter and, and fellow YouTuber. She is going to be my camera lady for the evening, and we're going to knock this out. The time right now, what time is it, child?
8:10.
It's 8:10 p.m. here, so we will check in with time throughout and let you know exactly how long this takes. I'm going to hand the camera over to my daughter. Okay, so first thing you want to do is get rid of this handle. I like these large tin snips because it makes real short, real easy work of it. You just cut it on a V.
I feel like they can hear me breathing.
Cut it on a V just like this. A little piece drops out, but the handle pops out real easy. Now if you don't have a pair of these large tin snips, you can use either one of the razors that I noted earlier. You want to make sure that you cut away from your body. I prefer the locking blade one for this, but just dive right in there and like I said, just make sure you cut away from your body. So that one, cut through that part. You can use these. These also lock. Again, just make sure that it's sharp and you're cutting away from your body. And just like that, that one's out. You can put these razors away for the moment. Now at this point, take your lid. It's going to be very tight going on without removing everything. And that is part of the reason why I don't remove it. I want it to be extremely tight so that it seals everything in and I don't lose any air loss. As I said, because of my shop setup, I'm using the handle to hang my Dremel. That'll help keep my flex shaft kind of where I want it. Actually, I'll move this over here. Hang it right from the ceiling. That'll keep me where I want it. So, when using the Dremel flex shaft for this, really all you want to do is you want to get in here and you want to poke a hole and get close to this edge. You want to get as close to this edge as possible because you are going to try to clean it up, and you want to keep it as close to that edge as possible. So we'll demonstrate that. This goes very, very quick. It's a good quick cut. It does get pretty dusty though. You don't have to worry about being perfect on this first pass. You're just trying to get the bulk of the bucket out of the way. You don't need that piece anymore. So, this little lip right here is what I'm talking about. We want to get rid of that as much as possible. Bring the camera up here. We want to get rid of this little lip as much as possible. And this is why I said you didn't have to be super careful on the first cut. This is the cut where you're going to come back and clean it all up. If you feel like you're super skilled and you can do it in one shot, go ahead. Just make sure you don't go through the side of the bucket. Going through the side of the bucket will ruin your project. Now I'm using the outside of the bucket with my finger to just keep myself steady. And I'm holding the bucket in an orientation in a way. My daughter's getting very dusty and does not like this. I'm holding the Dremel bit in a way that the tapered bit ends up being kind of flat with the bucket. That's the end goal that I'm looking for there. Just keep making little passes. Make this up all the way around.
I don't think they can hear you.
They can hear me. I'm a loud person. Just keep going until you get all the way back to where you started. And you could use a jigsaw for this. The first time I tried to do this, in the very first bucket, I ended up ruining the first bucket because I tried to use a reciprocating saw or a sawzall and it did not go very well. I cut right through the side of the bucket. And what I like using the Dremel for is I get a very good, clean, smooth finish. I'm cleaning this up a little bit more than what I have to. I most definitely don't have to clean it up at this level, but I just like making things nice. Alright, so we are officially done with these. We can put these away permanently. We don't need them anymore. I'll clean up later. Now you do get very, very dusty. Very, very dusty. But go ahead and do that. And take your rag. You don't need to have a clean rag, just make sure it's dry. And wipe out the inside here. You don't have to go all the way down. Just get a good amount of it out of the way. You could technically vacuum it out if you wanted to, or blow it out with an air nozzle. Now, you're going to take your piece of rubber here, and as I said, you don't need the metal track. The rubber is the only thing that you are interested in. I'm not trying to pull the entire rubber piece out. I don't really want to pull the whole thing out. I was going to try and store it away, but I don't think I'm going to get that lucky. So for sake of time, I'll just deal with it. And I'm just going to open the whole thing. Stop wasting time. Now, for this stuff, I'm going to use my other piece that I had already cut. I'll give you a couple of demonstrations here. With this stuff, it's the same stuff that I used. And as I said, you need a razor. You need a razor to cut through this stuff. Razor blade will go right through it real nice. Takes a few passes. You get a good clean cut. You want to keep a good clean edge on it. This one will cut through it the same way. Make sure you have it locked. And just make sure it's sharp. And sharpness is the key to this. The sharper it is, the easier it's going to go for you. And this is just if you don't have all the other tools. This is obviously not as sharp as I would like it to be. And I scored it and finished it off like that. When I did the other bucket, this was my preferred cutting method because I was able to measure around the bucket, mark a spot with my thumb. Much easier with this tool. It's just a PVC cutting tool. That's what I used in the last bucket when I did this the first 2 times. I made one for my buddy at J&A Woodcraft, J&A Woodcrafts. Made one for Jimmy over there to double up his capacity. Set these down, get these out of the way for now. Probably resort to this one. Throw away my trash here. So what you want to do, get a good fit and measurement. Again, this is not necessary. I just like to use it because I think it cleans everything up really nice. If you have one of these, they are great for just cleaning off a little edge. They work really good on plastic, and believe it or not, they actually do not too bad on soft woods too. So I'm just giving this edge a very quick and easy bevel. Smooth it out. It is not 100% necessary. If you don't have this, it is not a big deal. You do not have to run around this. I'm just cleaning it up and making it smooth because I like to. There's no super big added benefit to that. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our measurement here on this. And this is why earlier when I said this lip was super important. It helps hold everything in place when you're measuring your fit here. It just so happens that that little lip is right around the same size as your depot bucket. That is being kind of difficult with me right now as it's a longer piece. And my daughter helping me. So all you want to do when you're making this little fit measurement is just make sure that your seal is actually on the bucket so you don't cut yourself too short. You can cut it long or you can cut it short, but this is right about where I want it, so I'm just gonna mark it with my thumb like this, and I know that's right where I want to cut. And since I'm right-handed, I'm just going to transfer my cut like that. Now I can set this down and get this out of the way. Well, if you got a big cutting job, I like to use big tools. I like to use my fancy tools when I got a big cutting job. Keep the camera here.
Okay.
We're going to cut
Oh
this
my God.
the right way. I got through part of it with that. That one's probably a little too big. Alright.
You're so extra.
Now we got a better size tool. I had a little mark in there. And even a super sharp sword doesn't do as good as this tool. That tool still cuts better than a freaking katana blade. But we'll put these away. Set those aside for now. Pull our bucket back up and we're going to test fit it. We'll do this dry, make sure it's got no dust on it. And this is another reason why it was important to find a bucket that's holding its round shape pretty good, because it makes this part a whole lot easier just getting this back on here. Make sure that it's just seated on all the way around. It's probably better to make this a little bit shorter than it is to make it a little longer, always because you can take off but you can't put back on. So I think I'm actually going to trim this down a little bit. The natural shape of this T is fighting me a little bit and pushing it off of the bucket. It's not what we want. Yep, I'm going to take off just a little bit, not very much. And again, that's what this tool is very, very good for. I'm going to cut off of the edge that I already cut. And like I said, I'm literally going to take off a very small amount. I mean, we're maybe 1/8 of an inch. Get that 1/8 of an inch off now. Once we have silicone on here, it'll help hold it in place a little better. Fight with it a little bit. Don't worry, once the silicone's on and it's drying, this is a very, very solid, good thing. And right now, I think that fit is going to be just about perfect. It is okay to have a little bit of a gap like that. You'll fill it with silicone and it won't be an issue. But let's go ahead and get some caulk on this and get it in order. My tabletop is floppy because I just put it on top of my toolbox. I think you can see I'm not a complete idiot. It definitely holds when it's already rounded. So helping it stay in there and be rounded and not fight itself. I mean, this is way more sturdy than what the other one was. Alright guys, I figured out what the issue is. This was the first one that I did, or the first two. If you look at the difference between the two, the first one is way more flat. The second one has more of an arch to it. So when I'm putting it on the bucket, that arch is kind of pushing against the bucket. And it's helping it pop off, which is why it wasn't staying on very well for me. So as you can see, if I put this one on, this nice flat one, and let it go, that one was better. But this one, not better at all. This one really popped off and wouldn't stay on. It was very difficult to get on at all. Wouldn't even stay on a little bit. It was the flatter one, at least stay on for a second or two until it popped off. Anyways, my issue will be resolved adding a little bit of heat to it just to help make this part a little more pliable. I want that to be a little more straight. And once I get it on, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place so I can get the next bucket on. So that's the plan, to get it on and be better, and hopefully this works way better than my first attempt, which might end up being in a blooper reel at this point. So take your torch or heat gun, if you have a heat gun or a torch, either or. I'm just using a torch because it's faster. You don't want to melt it. You just want to get it warm enough that it becomes very pliable. You don't want to melt it or burn it. Flip it over so you can get to the other end of it. You really don't have to spend a lot of time doing this. You're really just trying to make it very soft and warm enough that you can still hold it, but that it stays very pliable. We are going to put caulk on this. Now the heat is going to make it expand, so it's going to want to fit a little bit differently. Do not cut it because it's going to fit. It will shrink back down. I think that's about enough of that. So even just warming it up like that, being able to hold it for a second there, it's already staying on a little bit better. It still wants to pop off a little bit, but I'm going to put the silicone on anyways. And like I said, we're going to hit it with a little bit of hot glue to try to hold it in place for a second. Once the hot glue dries, then I'll be able to let it go, is my hope and my thought. Go ahead and not play with that right this second. not making this really necessarily functional. And even with storage area. I'm not going to be doing any more work down here, so I'm going to go ahead and put my hoses underneath my table there. As I said, Dustopper bucket is super easy to get access to. Taking everything on and off. I was talking with somebody in the Carving Fusion World of Wood Carvers group on Facebook, and we were talking about just how easy it is to open and close and the capacities given. There's two little tabs. Pretty simple. Comes off very easily. And that is what is in the bucket. Pretty good amount. Now we'll take a look at how much actually made it into the shop vac and what the filter looks like. The filter is pretty clean still. And just for demonstrational purposes, see how much actually dumps out. Really not a whole lot. So definitely will help save your filter on your shop vac with all of the dust. Help keep your filter cleaner. It's not going to suck up a ton of dust into your shop vac. The cyclone separator works really well, and instead of having only 5 gallons worth of capacity, you get really close to the full 10 gallons, I think. I haven't actually made it all the way to the full 10 gallons, but even if you get 90% of it, 80% of the capacity, you're still hitting 8 or 9 gallons worth of capacity instead of 5 or less gallons. So good deal, good stuff. That bucket will probably end up in the trash. I'm not going to keep it unless somebody in the area local to me really wants it and doesn't want to do the work. They can have it. It'll dry. It'll probably function just as well as this. And if not, all the pieces are there to seal it up better in whatever way they choose. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. And might be a blooper reel of all the headache I had with that one. Have a good one, guys.